I did my undergrad at the U of A in linguistics, and I was an English minor. It's actually kind of a funny story because when I started at the U of A, I didn't actually start in linguistics. I started in secondary education. I was an English major, bio minor. And then in my second semester of my first year, I believe, is when I had my first linguistics class. Speech pathology was always the end goal for me, but I had my first ling class in my first year, and I just fell in love with it. I didn't know, like, I knew kind of what it was, but I didn't know how much information there was. And so from that point on, once I figured out you can actually major in linguistics, I switched over and did that and never looked back. The SLP was my first choice, probably for sure since junior high. It might have been a little bit earlier, around the time that I just realized it's not realistic for me to be an actress. Yeah, so speech pathology was the main goal for the most part. In high school, I briefly considered pharmacy, but I'm not a math person. And so when I discovered that you'd need to do calculus and all this other stuff, I was like, maybe not. Plus, when I was talking with my parents, my mom would say that, you know, my eyes just light up when I talk about speech pathology stuff, and they didn't do the same. They didn't do that for pharmacy in the same way. So there's so much of it that I've really enjoyed. I was not expecting to enjoy the clinical research methods as much as I was, as much as I did. Because, you know, you hear stats and you think, ew, gross, math, stats, not my thing. And I'm normally not super good at that stuff, but nobody's ever actually taken the time to explain how to understand stats when you're reading them. It's mostly just, here, we're going to tell you about the tests you need to run the test, plug your numbers, that kind of stuff. So that was really cool. I'm happy that I enjoyed that, especially since now I'm doing a thesis. Going to come in handy. All of the content from the classes has been really, really interesting. I'm excited to see how we're going to get to apply some of the things that we've learned in speech science, because obviously it's quite obvious how the phonological disorders and the things we've learned in like 511, that stuff is obviously really applicable. But I'm excited to see how we're going to get to apply the more technical physical aspects of SLP work. Yes, I had just moved, so we just moved into the house I'm in now, right before the pandemic hit, right before everything closed down. And so I was in my bed, waking up. It was like the first day of online. It wasn't the first day of online classes already, was it? I don't think so. I don't think it was quite that early, but we were still pretty new into classes and everything, or being online. And yeah, I had boxes everywhere. Everything was all partially unpacked, not really. But I just, after submitting my application, I don't know, maybe you didn't do this, but I was pretty obsessive about checking my emails to make sure I hadn't missed anything. And yeah, wake up, totally not even fully awake yet, roll over. I'm like, oh, I got an email from the portal, whatever, cool. Just like kind of scrolling through. And then it was like, oh, you have an important message. I'm like, okay, maybe you should check it out. And then I go and I read the thing saying, congratulations, you've been accepted. And I just kind of sat there. And then I just started crying, and my boyfriend kind of like sleepily rolls over and he goes, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? He thought I was like hurt or something. And I was like, no, I got in. So my thesis is going to be in, the technical title is spelling errors in adults with and without dyslexia. And we're looking at phonological, orthographic, and morphological factors. I try to take it a day at a time. Sometimes it goes really well and I'm handling everything swimmingly, and other times not so much. When I first found out that we were going to be online, I was really upset, because, you know, you think it's going to be great to be home all the time, and, you know, you don't have to worry about trying to find parking, and you can go to class in your pajamas and all this other stuff. But I was so excited about meeting everybody. You know, we spent the last 4 or more years trying to get here. And now we're here, and, you know, I think everybody really, really wanted to be like, look, more of my people. I'm so excited. So that was the biggest bummer. I mostly struggled with the environment, like being at home all the time and not having that classroom environment is really tricky, because when you're at home all the time, or at least for me, there's just constant distractions. Like even things you don't think would be a distraction. It's not even like background noise. It's like my kitchen is distracting me, because I'll walk by and be like, oh, well, before I go do this, I just need to wipe up this spill, or I just need to put away those dishes, or I have bunnies. Oh, what are the bunnies doing? Are they eating the tree? Are they, what, you know, it's just all this other stuff. And then I see the books sitting there and it's like, oh man, I still have things to do. Right now, one of the biggest things that I find I'm struggling with is when it's okay for me to take a break. Because in, like, obviously being in grad school, it's a lot of work. And when they told us at orientation, you know, it's a lot more work than you're expecting, I was like, okay, it's going to be more than I'm expecting. That was not enough to prepare me for this part, because it's so much more work than I was expecting it to be. Which isn't a bad thing, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. So I guess time management would be my biggest thing, is making sure that, and that, I guess time management kind of works with my other piece of advice, is that, like, know it's okay to take a break, but, you know, and work that into your schedule, because sometimes I'll be sitting on the couch and going, okay, I have an assignment that's due whenever, you know, I've got stuff I need to work on. I don't feel like working on it right now. And that's okay. Sitting on the couch, watching TV, playing video games, doing something else. If you're like, I know I'm not going to be productive if I go and work on something that I'm like, man, I don't want to work on this. It's not going to be good quality work. I'm not going to learn as much. It's just not going to be good. And then I'm going to be grumpy. So if you can, taking the time to just, you know, have a night and not do anything, that's okay. And you don't need to feel guilty about that, especially with everything the way it is right now with COVID. And there's so much that changes so quickly. Like, being patient with everybody else, but also with yourself, is super, super important.